All right, welcome back to Disciples of Christ Service. My name is Aaron.
My name is Chris.
And welcome back to the program. What is today's conversation about, Chris?
The presence of people in your life.
Okay, explain, expound,
Yes.
expand.
I will expandulate this out.
Oh, okay, all right. All right, then.
So the reason this came about was because I was laying in bed one night, and
Yep.
and as there are some nights where I can't go to sleep, or I struggle to go to sleep,
Yeah.
which isn't very often, but when I do, I think about things.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that I thought about was the loss of my dad, my brother, my mom,
Mhm.
my cat. And a lot of, I got to thinking about how I lost my entire family
Mm-hmm.
in 12 years. They were
Yeah.
all, within 11, they were all gone.
Yeah.
And so when you think about that, it puts life into perspective. You think about things differently, especially their presence.
Yeah.
So I remember, I'll go into this a little bit. I remember playing the game with my dad
Mm-hmm.
and my brother-in-law. That's why I play Warzone still. It's not because I necessarily like Warzone.
Mm-hmm.
It reminds me of my dad. That's why.
Yeah.
And so my brother-in-law played with me and my dad. Every game he would play with us.
Mm-hmm.
And not having my dad there, just his presence,
Mm-hmm.
it's very odd to me it hurts a lot sometimes.
Mhm.
So, and with my mom too, like her not being there anymore, we miss their personalities. We
Mhm.
miss the people that they are, the words that they would speak to us,
Mhm.
the mannerisms that they had.
Mm-hmm.
And like, so my cat Gracie, when I lost her, I miss her meow. Like
Yeah.
when we would bring out the food,
Yeah.
she'd meh, that's how she would meow. That's how she would do it. And so I miss those things. And so I think I want to explore what it means when somebody's presence is gone.
Yeah.
Like what is it about people that we miss?
Mhm.
It's who they are. That's what we miss.
Yeah.
They're all the things in life that happened to them that made them and created them into this
Yeah.
little bundle of personality.
Yeah.
I miss a lot of that with my mom, and I have a lot of other people because I lost, and I think it was 2022. I lost like 15 friends,
Yeah.
so I miss a lot of those people. I miss them
Mhm.
dearly, and I lost a lot of people. I've lost a ton of people,
Yeah.
but I want y'all to understand that the loss doesn't necessarily mean that I stop living.
Yeah.
It means that I find a new way, or a little bit different way to deal with the pain and to conquer that, to be victorious in my
Yeah.
what would you call it? Well, for me it was a dark
Mhm.
place that I went when I lost those people. But for me, I have to go to that place. I can't hold it in. So for me, it's the presence of these people when they're gone. It's like one day they're here and the next they're gone.
Yeah.
It's exactly like the Bible describes, as our life is a vapor.
Yeah.
One day we're here and the next we're not.
Yeah.
And so we have to make and more importantly, I think this discussion should be about what is the impact we should have
Mhm.
long term.
Yeah.
Do we invest our time in things that don't matter?
Mm.
Do we invest our time in people? Do we invest our time in leaving a legacy of Christ following?
Mm.
And so that, for me, that's what it comes down to. For me, in the end, after all the struggle and all the pain that I went through and all the heartache that I endured after losing my mom and my cat and my dad and my brother,
Yeah.
do I fall back into a cocoon and not do anything?
Mm-hmm.
Or do I push forward?
Yeah.
And do I make my life worth something?
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, that's what I'm doing. Me and my wife have been to church now almost a month straight,
Nice.
which hasn't happened in years.
Yeah.
And I'm grateful to God because we found a church that we love again,
Mm-hmm.
and a pastor that we love and who speaks the absolute truth
Yeah.
into our life and makes you question things. And so, my mom was very angry all the time.
Yeah.
And I don't know why. I still to this day have no idea why.
Right.
But she was very angry with people, and she held in a lot of her anger and didn't release it.
Yeah.
She would yell a lot, but
Mm-hmm.
she never really dealt with her anger.
Right.
And so this past Sunday, our pastor, he dealt with anger, and he said, because I was angry about losing my mom. I was angry at God about losing her. Not really angry, but just questioning.
Yeah.
It's like, Lord, you could have saved her. Why didn't you just save her? You
Right.
could have done that. But in the end, it's his sovereignty that reigns, not us.
Right.
It's his will that goes forward, not us.
Yeah.
We follow him.
Mhm.
He doesn't follow us.
Yeah.
And so in the end, that's what it come down to. I thought about our last discussion we had and how she was listening very attentively,
Yeah.
and she was looking at me, and I was sitting in her little stroller, her little walker thing she had. And I remember the last night, the last cigarette she took,
Yeah.
and the ashes are still on the rock by the steps. And I remember I went to take her inside, and she just fell over.
Yeah.
She couldn't even walk.
Yeah.
And so I picked her up, and I took her in. I picked her up myself
Yeah.
and took her into the room, set her on the bed. And she said, "Son, would you read Acts chapter 2 and 3 to me?"
Mm-hmm.
And I said, "Sure, Mama, I'll do that."
Yeah.
So I sit there and I read, and she loved it.
Mm-hmm.
And then we talked about how I said, "Mama, you've wasted all this time.
Mm-hmm.
You could have done so much more with your life, and yet you wasted all this time complaining about what could have been,
Right.
and complaining about people that don't even care anymore."
Yeah.
It's like, why didn't you just move forward? And why didn't you just but those things that I remember about her presence being there with us, and after her presence is gone,
Right.
you know, we take it for granted, man. We do. We take our parents for granted. We take our friends and all those people for granted. But I talk to my wife a lot. Me and my wife,
Mhm.
we talk a lot, and I love my wife dearly.
Mhm.
And I've talked to her a lot about this of trying to work out through all this pain and stuff, and we ended up coming to the conclusion that it's like, look, honey, you've got to do one of two things.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to let this go,
Yeah.
which I can't do.
Right. For her.
I have to work through it.
Yeah.
I have to work through it. I can't just let it go. And I hate when people say that. You just have to let it go.
Yeah.
It's not that simple.
Yeah.
Not for me, it's not. So, you know, I think in the end, Aaron, I've come to the conclusion that I miss those people's personality, and I will cherish them forever.
Mm-hmm.
But I can't wallow
Yeah.
in the sorrow anymore. I have to move on.
Yeah.
And so and it's kept me from moving forward too.
Mm-hmm.
So it's time to move forward. That's really what it is.
Yeah.
We cherish the memories we have with them,
Yeah.
we had with them, and we cherish the things that they brought into our life, the nourishment and the fulfillment, or the aggravation,
Right.
which that can be a possibility too.
Absolutely.
So I think that missing someone is natural.
Yeah.
If somebody dies in your life, you should miss them. If you don't, something's wrong.
Right.
Something's wrong inside of you, and you need to fix
Yeah.
that with Jesus. But
Yeah.
I think I know that God wants us to have grief. It's meant to heal,
Yeah.
and grief helped me. It's helped me to heal a lot.
Yeah.
And so I can't hold it in. I have to let it out. It has to come out of me, and that's why I kind of wanted to do this, because I figured, you know, if I can, and maybe this will help somebody out there with their grief. I mean, it's okay to feel grief. It's okay to be hurt.
Yeah.
I mean, my mom's been dead now since she died, November 25th.
Yeah.
Last year, 2025, and so she's been gone for a few months now.
Yeah.
4, 5, 6 months, and it's just odd to me that it's been that long already.
Mm-hmm.
But man, be encouraged, y'all. You don't have to. It's okay to grieve, but don't stay there.
Yeah.
It's okay to miss someone. It really is.
I think so. There's two things. So I want to bring a counterpoint. Now, keep in mind, this is not me saying this is how it should be, but I have had people, not a lot of people, to be very clear. This is not like, oh my gosh, whatever. But I've had people, one or two people in my life who their loss was not missed.
Oh,
and
I've had a few of those.
there's this part of, you talk about the presence of people, and you talked about kind of like how sometimes they're the benefit of them being with you and being being with you and being around you, being part of your story, losing that creates a hole.
It does,
right?
It literally does.
It creates a chasm that you can't easily fill.
It is,
and it takes time, like you said, to work through, to move past, to understand, to grasp, to reconcile, to cope, whatever.
It does, yep.
But there has been one or two people in my overall life, not my recent life to say this, but my overall life, that it was really hard to be like, oh, I'm so sad they're gone.
I've had a few of those too,
and it's hard because we just got done talking about like the importance of grieving, the importance of that.
Yeah.
And I think that's the other side of the coin is that when someone that you really that really made it hard to love them.
Yeah.
And were outwardly and inwardly and just not nice to anyone.
Yep.
And their unkindness defined their story
and
their character.
Yeah.
And so when an untimely death takes them, and there was a specific one in the last year that was really hard for me to be like, oh, I'm gonna miss them, because I didn't, and I don't, because that individual was an irritation, was a constant source of stress, within our world, and that individual made life difficult.
Yeah.
For not just for myself and my wife, but for others in our world. And it's really hard. I guess that's a challenge to be more Christ-like in that situation.
Yeah.
To go, that person was loved by God. That person was a child of God and all that. And being able to find a way to put yourself there with people that did not really endear themselves to you at all.
That's hard to do.
In their loss. I think that's the other side of that coin, because it's really, I don't want to say it's really easy, but it's really easy to be sad about somebody that you cared for, that you loved. Like that empty space in your heart is that speaks to their impact on you, right?
Yeah.
And you talk a lot about with mom and everything like that.
Yep.
But then there's the other side of the coin where it's just like, no, this person absolutely made their. And it's interesting, like since that person has passed away, there hasn't really been like I really miss this person. Oh man, I wish they were still here. Like
they're like, nope.
and that's I think that's part of our humanity, because we place value on kindness, we place value on love, we place value on the benefit that person brings to the world overall and to others around them and to us. And when someone is just nasty, mean, and not really bringing anything to the table, instead they're taking stuff from the table, it's really hard to be like,
we feel so bad,
but I think that's the question of the presence of people overall is what was the reason for them to go home, and sometimes I wonder if the reason sometimes that happens. And again, we don't know God's will. We don't pretend to know that. We don't pretend to talk to the guy and be like, oh, well, God told me the will for this thing was this.
No, we're not like those preachers.
Right. That's not our
false teachers.
It's not our jam. But I think partially because there's the song, obviously, Only the Good Die Young, Billy Joel. There's a lot of things about like all the good ones get taken, like Vodi Bakum. All those guys, like the recent in the last 6 months. We lost John MacArthur. We lost Vodi Bakum.
I miss John.
Yeah, we lost Charlie. Like these things, the good ones die young. Like we lose them in ways. And I think there's also the converse side of it is that sometimes the bad ones do go home early, or they get called home early. And where they go is not up to us to decide, because we are not the judge. That's God's job. But I think it leads us, when that happens, to question, well, nobody really remembers this person for them being gone. They're not really sad that they're gone.
Yeah.
That leads us to examine ourselves. What kind of you're talking about is, what is my presence going to be valued when I go?
Exactly.
How will I be weighed in people's hearts and minds and souls and
What
experiences.
impact?
Yeah, what will I leave behind?
Yep.
And I think that's the thing about the presence of people is that, and we tell our students, we tell in my classes, I tell people in my life, I'm like, you leave people better than you found them.
Yeah.
No matter what, leave them better than you found them.
Oh, yeah.
Because you want, and it's not a case of reputation. It's a case of your personal values. If your value is to leave someone better than you found them, that's a humble servant. That's you wanting to make them their change, to give them a positive trajectory and to give them an impact them in a way that maybe they didn't deserve, they didn't earn it.
Yep.
But God tells us to love. God tells us to evangelize. God tells us to be that lighthouse, to be those things. And I think that's the thing about the presence of people is the reason why Voddie Baucham was so sad, the reason why that was hard to swallow is because he had so much to give. He had given so much. He had shared so much.
Yep.
He was a passionate preacher. He lived a life of that and of truth, and to lose that presence in our lives was a significant hole. It was a significant hurt. Charlie Kirk, his message, the way that he worked, the way that he spoke to people, the way that he cared, the way that he loved his Christ.
He cared a lot.
And he loved the people around him. And that presence was I don't want to say larger than life, but it was pretty big in a lot of folks' hearts and minds.
Yeah, I miss him a lot.
And to lose that voice, to lose that true north.
True.
That he talked a lot about Christianity, he talked a lot about his faith, a lot about Christ, a lot about that. And to lose that voice, it reminds us that it's not just Charlie Kirk's job, it's not just John MacArthur's job, it's not just Voddie Baucham's job. It's all of our jobs.
That's our job.
Our presence on this planet, here in this broken kingdom, is our job is to point people back to Christ. Is to routinely, continually, everlastingly, as long as he keeps us around, to do that. And so in the presence of people, when we lose someone that we care about, we lose someone that in some ways helped point us back to Christ. For your mom, it was early in her life. Later in life, it was not so much.
Not so much.
But
in the end, yes.
Yes. And so we have to go, okay, how will I continue that legacy? The ways that she did in directing people to God and preaching and all that stuff. How can I pick up those pieces and take it from here?
Yeah, exactly.
And I think that's the hard part because that's hard work. And we've talked about this before on the podcast. Christianity is hard work. There's no getting around it, really, to be honest with you.
We would love for you to accept Christ, but we're going to tell you that it is not going to be easy.
Yeah.
It's going to be hard.
Well, and when you talk about, all these guys, Voddie Baucham, all that kind of stuff, those guys definitely had a passion for the road, for Christ, for the journey.
Yes, they did.
All right, we'll do some videos here. We'll start with...
Then he said, then I, John, saw the holy city, the new Jerusalem, coming down out of heaven from God, prepared as a bride adorned for her husband. And I heard a loud voice from heaven saying, behold, the tabernacle of God is with men, and he will dwell with them, and they shall be his people. God himself will be with them and be their God. And God will wipe away every tear from their eyes, and there shall be no more death, nor sorrow, nor crying. There shall be no more pain, for the former things have passed away. Sometimes we hear a message like this, and our immediate response is, it's simply too good to be true. If we were to invent a religion, surely we would want to invent one that gave us a promise of some kind of permanent relief from pain and from suffering and from death. We have the image in Greek literature of the sword of Damocles that hangs suspended in the air, ready to fall and drop at any second. And the sword of Damocles represents a constant source of threat that will destroy our happiness. Now, we are creatures who are alive, and we love life.
Mm-hmm.
And yet every one of us is on death row.
Yeah.
Every one of us is under a death sentence. Every one of us knows that somehow there in the future awaits our execution. We don't know what form it will take. We don't know what the circumstances of our own demise will be. But that sword of Damocles, that sword of death, hangs over us and casts a pall over all of our plans and our joyous anticipations. And though we try to suppress it, it's always there. The awareness of our mortality.
So that's an interesting point, kind of the presence of people, right? We have a clock.
We all have a clock.
We have a clock on us that
Yep.
we don't know what that clock looks like. We don't know what that clock's time is going to be, but we all have that idea of we eventually will leave this world and
We will.
It'll be over. And I think that's the question we've kind of been talking about since we started this episode today, is the awareness of our mortality and what do we do with that?
Yep.
How do we make the presence of God be felt, or how do we point people to the presence of God? We should never try and make them feel like the presence of God, because that's not our job. We don't have that power.
Nope.
But how do we point them to the presence of God through our presence in their lives? How does
Exactly.
our presence in our lives exemplify Christ
Exactly.
in all things,
Yes.
and point them towards, hey, why is this the way it is? I mean, you're like, there's this guy named God, and there's this thing called the Bible and Jesus, and let's talk about that. I think that's an interesting thing. This is a very young R.C. Sproul.
Yeah.
He's got a chalkboard behind him in this
He
video,
does.
and
the
fashions are definitely probably either mid '90s or late '90s.
That's probably mid 90s.
Yeah,
late 90s.
definitely mid '90s.
Yeah.
Here we go. We'll continue.
It kind of dampers the thrill and the joy of life, does it not? To have this unknown specter of the unwelcome visitation of the angel of death into our lives. Well, here we are told that there is a moment in history when that last enemy will be destroyed. For in glory, death will be no more. Now, as I said, we could see this simply as the wish projection of people who simply cannot bear the burden of this sword of Damocles that hangs over the neck of every human being. But it isn't just whistling in the dark that we're concerned with here. There is a reason, as the scriptures tell us, for the hope that is within us.
Mm-hmm.
We have already tasted glory. For in the record of the biblical scriptures, we have the testimony of one who has already defeated death.
That's right.
One who has been there, done that, and come back. And has promised that he is the first fruits of all of those who fall asleep. That's fundamental to the biblical affirmation of Christian faith. Resurrection. The resurrection of the Christian following the pattern of the resurrection of Christ. It's not simply that Christ was raised for his own vindication, but he was raised as God's promise and demonstration of the surety of that promise, that we will also participate in that resurrection.
So I like that, because again, we're headed into Easter next week.
Yep. Goodness gracious.
Good Friday is coming, or Maundy, Thursday, depending on which that you celebrate.
I can't believe that
But
already.
yeah, it's coming. So I think there's the part of it, like, those that we lose who are believers,
Yeah.
and who we have trust and faith in that Christ's promise delivers, that they are in
Yep.
heaven, they are in a better place, they
Yep.
are hanging out with God and Jesus, Bible, God, and all that stuff up in heaven. that I think is the piece and part of what we hold on to.
Yeah.
The piece and the part that is harder to handle or harder to cope, harder to reconcile is when you have somebody who you lose that you have questions about their faith and whether or not
that's harder.
Their salvation is guaranteed.
Yep.
So that is an element of this kind of presence of people is that you have people in your life that you dearly love, that you dearly care for, but you definitely know they are not followers of Christ.
No.
They have rejected it, or they don't subscribe to it. They are various others. They are a various other of cornucopia of beliefs that they've subscribed to, but none of them meet the standard of, hey, Jesus, Bible, God. And I think that's the other struggle of that.
Well, think about Jesus.
Yeah.
Think about him at home with his mother, building furniture with his dad.
Yeah.
Because his dad was a carpenter.
Yeah.
So think about that, how it felt for his mom when he said, hey, I got to go on this cross and die.
Yeah.
How did that make her feel? Then his presence is gone.
Yeah.
But then the third day, she sees him again.
Yeah.
So
he's back.
Yeah, he's back. He didn't die like he died, but he came back.
Right. So this video is how do you deal with the death of an unsaved loved one? We'll see what this says.
How do you deal with the death
John Piper.
of an unsaved loved one?
Ooh, that's a hard one.
I was on the phone with one of our brothers on Monday, and his 93-year-old dad had just died. And whenever the word comes to me, I'm just so hesitant to ask, was he a believer? I want them to. And he did. He brought it up, and he said, I don't have much confidence that he was. And then he said, but I'm going to have to just leave that to the Lord.
Mm-hmm.
Which is kind of I'm sure he didn't even think of it this way, it's kind of a biblical paraphrase of the text that I use most often in this context is, will not the judge of all the earth do right? And I've only done a few funerals for unbelievers that I know are unbelievers. They're way worse than anything. I'd rather do a suicide of a believer than a funeral for a blatant unbeliever. And I remember one time just standing around the coffin, there's about 12 people there. And the older woman who knew her brother was just a pagan, just hated everything about the church and Christianity. And I couldn't hide this. Everybody there knew, what's he going to say? What's the pastor going to say? There was no hiding this. And I said, we all know. I can't remember his name now. He wasn't part of our church, or I never knew him. There he was in the funeral. We all know that he was not a believer. And we know that he deserves the wrath of God, and we'll experience it. But what we must keep our focus on is God is just, God is good. God does not do anything that we will not ultimately approve someday. And then I read that text from Genesis 18:25. Will not the judge of all the earth do right? And right now, I confess, right now, the right thing feels very painful to us, horribly painful, maybe immobilizingly, paralyzingly painful with grief. But we need to move to the point where by grace we realize that one day God will give us the emotional wherewithal to see the justice in all of his actions. And that seemed to help.
I think that's interesting.
Ooh,
because basically he's saying this non-believer that I'm holding a funeral for, he's probably in hell.
He probably is, yeah.
And that's a hard thing. And we're never going to be people on this podcast that say, oh, well, they deserve to go to hell or whatever. That is never going to be a situation that we ever utter those words. And if we do, you should probably email us and tell us, hey, what's going on? That's the story. Because again, it's not our job to judge.
No.
But it's also our job to answer the question of if a non-believer who has had the opportunity to hear the gospel and accept or deny it, the answer traditionally and scripturally, no, they're not going to heaven. They're not going because
if they deny Christ, they will not be there.
And I think that's what John Piper's talking about here. He's like, this was a hard It's a hard thing.
Yeah, you have to tell the truth, though. I mean,
And he also says at some point, hopefully we'll understand that's God's gig. That's the job.
He's got a hard job.
He does, but I think it's also like it takes away our rationalization. Like, well, he was a good person. Yeah, good, great. But did he actually accept Christ in his heart and live a life according to God's commands? Well, no. Okay, well, I don't know what you want to like. It sounds
only Jesus did that.
Right. Exactly.
He's the only one that's
so
good.
the cruel answer that people will probably label it is, well, if you wanted the straight answer, that's the answer I can give you.
That's the truth.
It's the truth, and the truth hurts. And John Piper alludes to that in this video. It's painful to accept that and to acknowledge that. Thankfully, my grandpa accepted Christ about a year or two before his death.
Yep.
He finally invited Christ into his heart.
Sweet.
A lady so his wife had passed away 10 years previous.
Yep.
And he was living in an assisted living home, senior living home, in Montana.
Yep.
And there was a lady, her name is Marge. I'm sure Marge has long past.
Probably, yeah.
It's been since 2012 when Otto Dahl passed.
Yep.
And she would meet with him and read scripture to him or read Bible stories to him.
Yep.
And so she continually did it. And at some point, finally, I think he said, I want you to tell me more about this. And so Otto accepted Christ into his heart. And
it makes me very happy.
It does. And so my Aunt Lori, who she passed away after that, her and my mom had been very much dedicated to getting Otto to see Christ and to find the light. And so her work, my aunt's work and my mom's work, they were relentless, and they were just like, "Hey, Dad, like we'd really love, like I want to talk to you about this. What can I share?" And it took 90 plus years for him to accept Christ into his heart.
But he came to Christ. That's what matters.
And so I have the confidence and the understanding that that's what happened. And so that's the good side of the story.
Yeah.
My grandma on the other side, I don't know if she was.
And my brother either. I don't know.
Yeah.
I remember one conversation we had where he said, I told him about Jesus, and he said, I don't want nothing to do with you or your God. That's what he said.
Yeah.
Those were his words to me. And in the end, now I told him one time when he was sober for about 43 days.
Okay.
And they said it was blissful. It was wonderful.
Yeah.
And during that time I said, brother, if you don't hear anything else, hear what I have to say. If you ever find yourself in a place and you don't know what to do, call out to him. Just say his name. That's all you got to do.
Yeah.
He will come.
Yeah.
Now, whether he did that or not, I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not God. I don't know what he did.
Yeah, the grandma on the other side, she was not a nice lady.
Yeah.
She was pretty rough to my parents, to her son, and to my mom,
that's sad.
His wife. And she was a hard-hearted person a lot of times. And
man, that's sad.
It was hard because my dad had come out of that family. So his dad died when I was born in 1982 from cancer. Like that had taken him, and that had impacted my grandma on my dad's side.
That's sad too.
And so, but the way my dad talks about my grandpa Bert, is just, he was an amazing individual, kind, loving, caring.
That's beautiful.
Good man. And his loss, his death, impacted my grandma on that side. And she just became very angry and unhappy because she had lost her husband, and she never remarried, obviously, and she raised her kids, and then that was the thing.
Sounded like she never recovered either.
I don't think she did. I think it's really hard because we talk about the presence of people and how we're supposed to love everybody. She's not the one I was referring to in my story, but she is one who made it very hard to love her.
Yeah.
And
my brother was like that too.
And we have to believe in that the judgment of those people is not up to us, thank goodness, but it is up to a just and good God.
Yeah, he is fair.
Now, he's fair. Does that mean that I don't know where she ended up? That's the answer I have. I don't know. Even today, it's been 20 plus years since she left.
I have no idea.
But it's that idea of you have to push past that and accept that you don't know, and that's okay.
And leave it in the hands of a just God.
And even if you do know, leave it in the hands of a just
right.
and good God, because that's what it works.
Follow Piper's recommendations.
This is an interesting video. Be faithful to Christ at the funeral of a lost person.
My next door neighbor passed away, and big party hardy guy. In fact, had a Mardi Gras float parked in his garage. I mean, his driveway. And looked for many ways to witness to him and preach to him. And on that day, his sand ran out, and he wasn't expecting it. And I just happened to see the lights blinking out front, and said, woke up my wife. I said, "Look, it's 5:30 in the morning. They got ambulances and EMS, fire trucks. What's going on?" So I walk out. And then there's, his daughter and his wife, and, they're crying. And so I go over there to try to, find out what's going on, and they tell me. And so they know I'm a man of the cloth. And so they say, "Go on in. We want you to pray over the body." I guess it's in their way of thinking that somehow it's going to help their husband or help their father get into heaven. But I go back there, once again, having to make that line. Okay, I'm not going to be manipulated by that. I'm not going to do some sort of incantation because they want me to do something because they look like it's religious and it's going to help the family. I don't do that. But on the other hand, I want to show my sympathy and my understanding that to the family, I'm trying to give some sort of condolences. So I go there, and sure enough, they're packing him up, so to say, and they're bringing him out. And so she turns to me, she says, "I want you to do the funeral." Okay. And so when the time comes for the funeral, a few days later, he's in the casket, and he's decked out for Mardi Gras. That's how they wanted him dressed. And they said, "We want people to dress as they remembered him in the different categories of life that he represented." In other words, if he was part of the fire department at the airport, so if you remember him from that perspective, dress in red. But he was also with security, so he was with the police, so dress in blue. And if you're with the Spanish Town floats, you dress in pink type of thing. And so, I asked the Lord to give me a word with that, help them, but at the same time being a faithful ambassador. And I said, those who get into heaven dress in white. And it has to be purity. And it has to be not just any white. It has to be the whiteness of a perfect righteousness given by King Jesus.
Yes.
Once again, trying to be an ambassador that walks the line to be faithful to the message, and at the same time trying to help people who are struggling and are sorrowful. I can't compromise the message. You can't compromise the message. No matter how hard and how tough it might be that you have to give somebody. But you can put an arm around them. You can say, I'm willing to be with you to get through this, to get right with God. That's my purpose in being here.
I think that's really interesting.
That's very interesting.
How do you do that? How do you manage without being without compromising the message?
Yeah.
I think that's the presence of people, like your presence in people's life. Don't compromise the message.
Yeah, exactly.
You can't. You just
tell the truth at all times.
And that's the thing is people, I don't outwardly talk about it on social media. I'm not like, "Oh my gosh, here's what I think about this with this morality," whatever. It's not that's not the jam.
No.
The jam is not to be outspoken and to be preaching on the street corners. But if somebody asks me, "What do you think about this?" or "What are your views on this?" I'm going to be like, "Well, you're asking, so here's what the truth tells me. Here's what the biblical scriptural
That's right.
Jesus, Bible, God tells me, and here's the answer."
Yeah.
And I think it's interesting if you live that life, you're probably going to make some friends. You're probably not going to make others.
You're going to make enemies. I've made a few.
Other people are going to be like, "I don't want to, you're wrong. You're on the wrong side of history." It's like, okay, well, you asked and I delivered and we agree to disagree, and that's just how it's going to have to be. And if you can't do that, then I don't know what to do with you. Like there's a certain amount of my truth, the truth, not even my truth, the truth of Christ, the truth of God cannot be compromised.
Nope.
Now they've tried to water it down. They've tried to compromise it in various churches.
Yep.
Joel Osteen,
and others,
and
lots
others.
of others.
Duplantis, Copeland, and everybody else in that whole soup of
Especially.
delight.
Oh yeah.
Um,
we love them dearly though.
Jesus
want-
loves them. I try to love them every day. It gets to be challenging sometimes when I hear what they're saying, and I'm just
Yeah.
like, "You've got to be kidding me!"
We're not Jesus.
No, good Lord, no, we're not. But it's, I don't know. Our presence in people's lives is important, and
It's very important.
being a uncompromised presence.
Yeah.
And I think that's what you were kind of asking earlier is like, what impression do I want to leave?
Mm-hmm.
Leaving the uncompromising truth of Christ as evidence in your life, so that when they do look back, when they do pull you out of the house, when the pastor is asked to do your service,
Yep.
he's not going to go, man, how do I walk the line? It's like, what do I leave out? What can't, it's there's too much. I can't pack all of this in there. Or this is really easy because it's just Jesus, Bible, God. That's the way they lived. And
Yep.
that's all I got to talk about because it's evident and everyone knows it. And it's not a question. It's an answer.
Yep.
And that's, I think, the presence of people in your life is that when someone who truly lived the Jesus, Bible, God lived that,
Mm-hmm.
there's no question for you.
Yeah.
They did it.
Yeah.
And you can, there's no like, oh, I don't know. It's like, no, I know what's going on. I know where they're going. They live that life quietly and humbly
Yep.
through acts of service and acts of love and acts of words and all those. They
mom-
lived love in action.
My
as it
mom
were.
that's how she was, man.
Yeah.
Like when I will never forget her walking up to people on the street.
Yeah.
I will never forget those days, man. That's where I learned how to serve him,
Yeah.
was through that. And you know, it's funny because I think to myself, like, my boys have seen me live out my faith.
Yeah.
They know. My son Adam is hard agnostic, probably even atheistic in a way.
I would agree.
Yeah, you would agree, huh?
Yep. Oh, yeah.
But he told me, he said, Dad, I have seen that your faith is real. I can see it. You've lived it out through the hard times, through the bad times, through the good times. You've lived it.
Yeah.
You've been consistent. I said, well, I don't feel that I have, but I in the end, it doesn't matter what I think.
Yeah.
It matters what God's word says and
Yeah.
what he has done.
Yeah.
The fact is that Jesus Christ died so that we could be free from sin.
Yeah.
Just like Sproul said.
Yeah.
Sproul had it. He nailed it.
Yeah.
In the end, if our faith and our trust is in him
Yeah.
and we've accepted him as our Savior, we're free from this.
Yeah.
Yet, though it'll take us, yet we'll be free in the end.
Yeah.
On the other side of this reality lies one that I can't wait to see.
Yeah.
I long for it, actually.
Yeah. It's a fascinating conversation to have.
Yes, it is.
All right. Anything else you want to talk about, mention about?
Yeah, one more thing.
Okay.
Don't be so harsh with people, because that happened to me the other day. And don't get so mad at somebody because they don't know.
Right.
Explain it out to them.
Yeah.
Take the time to help them understand.
Yeah.
That's what I would say.
Yeah. I think that's Christ's message. I mean, the woman at the well, where he,
Mm-hmm.
he's like, well, here's the reality. Go and sin no more. It wasn't a yelling match. It wasn't but it was like, hey, maybe let's not do that anymore. Let's kind of find a different way.
Let's do it a different way.
The only time Christ got angry is in the temple when they were defiling his temple with the moneylenders and the taxpayers and all that. And he just was like, that's it. Fit.
Boy, he didn't like that
No,
very much.
he
did
didn't. But that's the only time you see Christ in his anger is when his temple is being defaced, is being dishonored.
Joel Osteen.
Yeah. There's plenty of pastors right now who are not doing well in the temples of God that they've built. But I wouldn't even call those temples. I would call those facts. Those are faux temples. They're fake temples. Th're not even real.
They're Mick temples.
Yeah, there you go.
Because you want a hamburger? Well, don't go to McDonald's to get a real one. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Sorry, y'all.
You're going to get genetically modified Christ in
A
there,
Mick temple.
and that's not how we do.
Nope.
That's no longer Christ. You've genetically modified the Christ out of the Christ. You've got, I don't know what you call it, but it's not what it is.
It's a fake, man.
Yeah.
That's
Fake news, as they say.
Fake news.
It's not the real game. I think that's the first appearance of a Donald Trump voice in this podcast ever.
I love to watch people do impressions.
Oh,
it's hilarious.
That's amazing. All right. Well, this has been Disciples of Christ's Service. My name is Aaron.
And my name is Chris.
And we will catch you on the next one. Thanks for listening.